All right, so now we're getting ready to get into pricing a home. I'm gonna give you the short, down and dirty, easy way to do it, and then I've recorded a longer version for you guys that really want to maximize your profits. All right, so let's assume everybody has FMLS, or you're in wherever you are in your marketplace, you have an MLS system. They all look the same. All right, so let's assume that we were going to go either buy a home, because you should be doing this for your buyers, and also for sellers. The process is the same. Why would you do this? Because you want, for a buyer, you want to see if there's any room, even though the seller will not pay closing costs. If you give them above asking in a typical real estate market, you can add it into the deal. Like if somebody says, well, I won't take less than 300, but if you know how to price a home and you know it's going to come in at 310, now you can give them an offer at 310 with 10,000 in closing costs. Okay, very easy to do. Okay, if you're working with a seller and you're going to do this obviously before you go out to the listing appointment, because at some point in our next training, when we're walking through a home, because every single thing we do is a script from the time we drive up to somebody's home, how we get out of the car, how we ring a doorbell or knock, everything that we say once we drive it is a complete script, everything. And at some point when you're in a person's home and you go upstairs, if they have a upstairs home, or about 3 or 4 minutes after viewing the home, you're going to say the same thing every time. Hey, Miss Summers, if I had a buyer or a bag of cash, briefcase full of cash in my car, and I don't, what would you take for this home right now? And they say whatever they say. If it's a number that you know once you did your research and it's going to fall within that range, this is critical information, y'all. You immediately say, we can definitely get your home sold. Because what you guys learned last week from Tony Robbins is everybody has 6 human needs. The first need everybody has is certainty. And you want to be certain. When you're a real estate agent, you're a salesperson, yes is always the answer. Yes, we can make it happen. So they give you a number and you did your research and you know the house is going to probably appraise somewhere between 320, 330. And they say, well, if you had cash, I would take, 325. You would say, we can definitely get your house sold, Miss McGillicuddy. Okay. And then if they say a number that's way out of range, if you did your research and says 320 to 330, and they say 450, because you ask the same question, you say, well, how'd you come up with that number? And then you just keep walking through the house. And they'll tell you, oh, what next door sold for. Remember, you already got the comps. You already know what next door sold for. Their house is 1,500 square feet bigger than your neighbor. They don't know that yet. You don't talk about price. You just want to know mentally who you're dealing with and how they came up with the number. What percentage of sellers want more for their house than what you researched?
100.
100%. You know that walking in. All sellers think their home is worth more. That's okay. So if you know these things before you walk in, like Mr. Andre Smith is already studying his objections because he wants to get ready for battle before he goes in battle. Smart man, right? You already know these things are going to happen. But if their seller, which happens about 60 to 70% of the time, they come up with a realistic number. They say, oh, 325. You go, oh, we get that. This house is sold. Period. Because there's always 3 prices to sell a home, right? Price, condition, what a buyer will pay. Okay. All right. So I already pretty much got ahead of this. So this is how you would quickly price a home. You can do it driving your car. This takes you less than 90 seconds to price this home. Okay. I do it driving sometimes, which I don't advise you to do. You should never drive and price homes. They say drive and text. So I don't know. Driving and pricing homes might be legal. I don't know. So here's what you need to know. An appraiser, his job or her job, this person's job, is to find 3 comps. 1 inside the subdivision, 2 outside the subdivision that have sold within the last 6 months that are within 1 mile of your home. That is what an appraiser's job is to do. So if you know what the appraiser's job is to do, then you should operate like an appraiser. What I'm teaching you, I learned from D.S. Murphy up in Beaufort. He's the chief appraiser over the entire state of Georgia. And he has been appointed by the governor. Years ago, he's a friend of mine. I used to take my real estate teams up to Beaufort, and he will walk them through the same training I'm walking you through. This is exactly how an appraiser is going to price a home. So if he showed me, and he is the #1 guy in Georgia that decides the value on a property, I think that the best thing how you become successful is you just find people who have a blueprint and you copy them. That's why I shared with you a blueprint earlier, right?